It's time to play with application with rates using dimensional analysis. Let's jump right in. It's 120 miles from Lafayette to Fort Wayne. If someone travels an average speed of 65 miles per hour, how long will the trip take? Now, some of us can look at this question, or some of you can look at this question and just know right away how to do it. While some of us look at this and go, what is going on? So let's look at what we know. I know 120 miles. Okay, I know 65 miles per 1 hour. Right, these are just pieces that I know. And the question is, how long? How long means time. Time means I want my answer to be in hours. Now, for any of these pieces that are not fractions, I can make them fractions by putting them over 1. So I somehow need to play with the 120 miles and the 65 miles over an hour to end up with hours in the numerator. Well, thinking through that means my 65 miles to 1 hour should be flipped. I'll have 1 hour over 65 miles because now I have hours in the numerator. If I multiply that by 120 miles over 1, now we have the miles in the numerator denominator. Those will cancel out, and I'm left in just hours, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to take 120 divided by 65, and that gives me roughly 1.8461, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to round to the nearest hundredth for fun, and I end up with 1.85 hours. So if you're struggling with what to do next, pay attention to what you have and see how you can work with those to get what you want. Use your units. Now let's build on that. Again, 120 miles. How long will this take if you average 55 miles per hour? Well, same process. We start with that 120 miles over 1, and then we take that 55 miles on the bottom, 1 hour on the top. Again, my miles cancel out, and I am left with 2.1818 blah, blah, blah hours. Let's round to the nearest hundredth, and I get 2.18 hours. Let's change tactics here. From experience, the school's Ford Fusion Hybrid can get 47 miles per gallon. So now our rate is miles per gallon. How much fuel will it take to drive from Lafayette to Fort Wayne? We're going to use a gas price of $3.65 per gallon to estimate the fuel cost for this trip. Again, we have a lot of pieces here, so let's write all of this out. I have 47 miles per is the fraction bar, 1 gallon of gas. I've got gas price of $3.65 per 1 gallon of gas. And we're talking about Lafayette to Fort Wayne, so I have 120 miles over 1. These are the 3 pieces that I know. The question says, how much fuel? Okay. The interesting piece is it doesn't ask us to talk about the price, so I don't really need that as I'm looking at this question. It says use a gas price, so we can find the cost, but the question is how much fuel, which really just tells me answer this question in gallons. So if I want gallons to be in the top, then my 47 miles over 1 will give me 1 gallon over 47 miles. Okay. Now I'm ready. So I have 120 miles over 1. I have 1 gallon over 47 miles, and that allows me to just be in gallons. So when I divide 120 divided by 47, I get roughly 2.55 gallons of gas. Now that answers the question of how much fuel will it take. If the next question, which it doesn't ask, but let's do it anyway, how much will this cost? Well, 2.55 gallons over 1 times $3.65 over 1 gallon, that makes my gallons disappear, and my cost to the nearest penny is $9 Now, I used to do this when I lived far away from, not far, but far enough away from my family that when my mom would say, "Are you coming home to visit for the weekend?" I would do a little calculation and say, "It's going to cost me $12.30 to get home. You giving me that money?" Most of the time she would say, "No, you have a job." But anyway, it was still this piece here. Let's do one more problem just for fun. If there are 15,000 gallons of water in your basement, that's a lot of water. How long will it take the 2,500 gallon per hour pump to pump all the water out? Okay, again, what do we have? We've got 15,000 gallons of water. Y'all, that's a lot of water. We have a pump that is 2,500 gallons per hour. The question says, how long? We want our answer to be in hours. So this 2,500 gallons over an hour is going to need to be flipped to be 1 hour over 2,500 gallons, because that puts the hours in the numerator where we want it. So then I would take my 15,000 gallons over 1. My gallons are going to cancel out. I take 15,000 divided by 2,500, and I end up with a nice and easy 6 hours. And that is playing with applications of rates with dimensional analysis.